The opinions and views expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? But can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
And hello, everybody. Welcome into a beautiful Monday episode of Running Point on YSNLive.com, brought to you by our good friends, top right corner of the screen, Greenwood Chevrolet in Austin Town. They go the extra mile for you. We try to do the same here on Running Point every single day. And if you were with us last week, you understand that this week and last week are all going to be about going the extra mile with basketball previews. And we have a bunch of coaches still to play this week, and that's what this week is going to involve. Today, we're going to recap, of course, the football action real quick. We're going to go over everything that happened on Friday in playoff football. Then we will have Eric Harper, the head coach of the boys middle range basketball team. He'll be live on the show at about 1:15. And then we have a couple of more coaches' corners that we're going to play. For sure, Tony Sorge from Beaver Local. And then if we have time after him, if it works out, we're also going to play Josh Upshire from Badger basketball as well. So all that coming up on Running Point today, and it all starts with a hop inside the scoreboard on YSNLive.com, brought to you by our good friends over at Burnett Pools, Spas, and Hot Tubs. Going to go ahead and scroll up to the top so you can see their logo real quick, and I can give them a little bit of a spiel. This YSN scoreboard is a great fan tool, whether you're at one of our games or watching one of our games on our live games page. You don't want to look away for too long, so this is a quick and easy way to see what's going on around the YSN family. The YSN scoreboard is live updated, so you don't have to wait until midnight for final scores to start coming in. And we have a great team of people behind the scenes that are working on making sure this scoreboard is live every night that we have games. It'll continue throughout the basketball and seasons, and throughout the wrestling season, throughout the baseball and softball season in the spring. This scoreboard will continue to be a tool for YSN fans, and it is proudly presented by Burnett Pools, Spas, and Hot Tubs. Let's scroll down to see what we had going on Friday. Playoff football had some good results for YSN, had some not so good results for YSN. It was a mixed bag, if you will. And we'll start with Garrettsville Garfield against Perry. This was a game where one of the things I said on Friday was Garfield's offense was not built for comeback, so they needed to get off to a strong start. Unfortunately, they couldn't. Perry jumped on them. You started to see Garrettsville Garfield kind of ease into the game a little bit and start to find their groove and find some offensive momentum here later in the game. But by that time, unfortunately for the G-men, Perry had kind of run away with it, and they were just dominating the game. And Garfield's not built for big comebacks. Their offense just isn't a quick strike, 21 points in one quarter kind of offense. And they couldn't climb the mountain after Perry got off to that quick start. 42-14, Perry advances to the regional finals. They are the 1 seed everyone expected them to be at this point, and they kind of went and earned the 1 seed with wins all the way up until now. Archbishop Hoban, they're all over Riverside. 21-0. They advance with more defensive play. This Hoban Knights defense does not get nearly enough credit. They played so well, shut out Riverside, and they advanced to the regional finals 21-0. Ursuline was tested yet again. It seems like every playoff game Ursuline has played in the last couple weeks has been a test. There's been one that they have had to grind out, and they get this one 27-20 in a thriller against VASJ, which of course is Villa Anna St. Joe's. I think close wins are exactly what Dan Reardon wants. Obviously, maybe his doctor doesn't want that. His blood pressure is not good for these close, stressful wins. But being able to win tight games is something you're going to have to do in the state semifinal, state championship, et cetera, et cetera. And, the more tests you get, the more, situations you can throw your kids into and say, hey, we got out of this situation. We came out of this situation, et cetera, et cetera. So I think these close wins really bode well for Ursuline moving forward as they go into the playoffs, into the regional finals next week. West Branch saw their season come to an end 40-21. Their defense just struggled to stop Canton South. And their offense did okay, but 21 points was just not enough to win this game. Canton South's offense, like I said, pretty much did everything they wanted. There was a game-turning play, and it was early in the second quarter, I think. Canton South was up 14-0, and West Branch had them pinned back deep in their own territory. Maybe I want to say the 10-15-yard line, something like that. It was 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, around that third long range. So if West Branch gets a stop, they're getting good field position. Might have the opportunity to go down and score, make this a one-score game, etc. I don't know why I'm saying etc. so much today. I just noticed that. But anyway, so 3rd and long, Canton South drops back. The pressure gets there. This quarterback is cornered on both sides. He's pinched in. Somehow finds a way to escape the sack, roll to his right, make a throw on the run. He looked like Josh Allen out there. Perfect pass, right at the sticks, first down, and that drive continued, obviously, which just really, West Branch needed that play. They needed that sack. It would have either been a safety or it would have been 4th down, deep down by the goal line. I couldn't really tell if that Wildcats quarterback was actually in the end zone when he would have been sacked. But it would have been 4th and very long inside the 5-yard line at the least. And, he got away from that sack and then made a first down throw. And it seemed like from that point on, Canton South's offense went down and just did whatever. In little moments like that, you can really turn a game around. So that's going to be one of the plays that West Branch looks back on and says, dang, I wish we were able to get that sack. But they were not. And Canton South wins 40-21. Not saying they would have gone. It was in the second quarter, so I'm not going to sit here and say that play won Canton South the game. But it was definitely one of the turning points. If West Branch gets that stop, they could have gone down and scored, and it could have been a turning point in the game. That was one of the plays that I wrote down as this is an important play in this game, and then it turned out to be the tide turner. Struthers gets the win over Mineral Lake Catholic in dramatic fashion. Both these teams scored to take the lead in the fourth quarter, but Struthers scores with 10 seconds left. The 6-seed Wildcats going on into the regional finals as they win 28-25 over Mineral Lake Catholic. And finally, we get one of our teams to beat the Cougars. Woo! Mineral Lake Catholic, it's been a trip, and our YSN team finally found a way. Struthers gets to win 28-25. Congratulations to the Wildcats. What a run so far. They're going to go up against Canton South in the regional finals, and that's a tall task, but they've had a lot of tall tasks already. So Struthers is feeling it right now. They advance. They're going on to the regional finals, 1 win away from the state semis. South Range, a team that had to beat Struthers with a last-second touchdown earlier on in the season, they had a tough start against Clearview, but at the end of the day, it's all Raiders as a second-half surge put them way ahead, 48-21, the final score there over Clearview. The Raiders, again, continue to just impress and find ways to make adjustments. Their second half looked dramatically better than their first half. The only thing that worries me about South Range are these kind of lethargic starts that we see in the first 3 weeks of the playoffs. They have not started a playoff game well yet. to be completely fair. They have not gotten off to the great start in either one of these 3 playoff games. So you got to see that happen eventually. You got to see that happen. But other than that, you cannot fault South Range at all for what they've been able to do. And the old adage is, of course, it ain't about how you start, it's about how you finish. And the Raiders finished this game really strong and get the win 48-21. The play of the game, probably that 62-yard run from Tristan Toy for a touchdown that made it 42-13. If the nail wasn't in the coffin yet, it was after that play. Mineral Ridge puts up a pretty strong fight against Mogador. Their defense played really well, got some key stops like it had been all postseason, but unfortunately for I don't know why I said Western Reserve. I was going to say Western Reserve. Unfortunately for Mineral Ridge, their offense just couldn't find a rhythm. 21-7, Mogador's defense wins them this game, but I was really impressed with the Rams' defense on their end, trying to keep the Mogador Wildcats off the scoreboard as much as possible. And they played a really good game. Nothing to be ashamed of if you're a Mineral Ridge fan with that game. Lowville knew they were up for a big task against Danville, and they lose this one 41-21. Danville almost doubles up the Rockets. And that Danville team looking very good. They have scored more than 40 points in all of their playoff games so far. Last but not least, Mohawk, they advance in the WPIL, and they get the 17-12 win over Imani Christian. I think Imani Christian put up more of a fight than a lot of people thought they would, but Mohawk able to get that win, and they are going to be playing next week as well. So if you tally up the teams that we have left, Archbishop Hoban, Ursuline, Struthers, South Range, and Mohawk all going to be advancing to this Friday. So that means we will have those games for you on ysnlive.com. More rounds of playoffs, more playoff action coming up for you this week. And we will preview all the matchups on Friday as we gear up for another round of playoffs. But for now, we're going to start to get ready. It's almost time to talk to Coach Eric Harper from the Mineral Ridge Rams boys basketball program. As they gear up for another season, he is scheduled to come on at 1:15, so any minute now. As we talk about Mineral Ridge boys basketball, last season definitely one that they had some growing pains. They had a lot of young talent last year. They went up against a very tough MVAC Scarletier with the likes of Western Reserve, Lowville, Springfield. Not an easy task for a team that was trying to grow as a youthful team. But you look at going through that season, that's going to really, I think, pay dividends this year. When you get young guys experience one year, maybe you take your lumps. I mean, obviously, 2-21 is not the season you want. But you look at their roster from last year, and some of the guys they're bringing back for sure. I mean, you have Jordan Moore, who played really well at times last year. Julian Rossi, obviously, coming back as a senior. Trey Wrigley coming back as a senior. John Rossi coming back as a senior. They had four seniors, graduate. Their biggest loss is probably going to be Tristan Valley, obviously. I mean, Tristan Valley was just an all-around athlete that was a great leader as well. So that's probably going to be the biggest chunk that they're going to have to replace. But they have a lot of talent coming back that were, juniors or sophomore last year, either going into their senior year leadership or going up to an upperclassman level. So, yes, I get it. Not the results you want last year, of course, on the win-loss column. But I think a lot of building blocks were put in place on the Rams side for this year. And I think when we talk to Coach here in just a minute, I think he's gonna echo that. He's gonna echo that there were a lot of things that just were building blocks last year that were reasons why you're optimistic that young group is now going to be an experienced group this year. And they're probably going to be one of the more experienced teams in that conference because a lot of other teams lost really important seniors. So you look at the way Mineral Ridge is lined up, if they can just find a way to, turn a winning culture around in this basketball program, build off the success of their football team maybe that went off into their best postseason run ever. Bring that momentum in the basketball season. Coach is probably about to get his football players maybe here in a couple of days. He'd probably give them a few days off after football, but once he gets everybody in there, I think he's going to find a lot of momentum from the football players he is going to have on his team, and I think that's going to help him a lot. I really do. I think the experience of last year is going to help build into this year, and we're going to see I would expect a very improved Middle Ridge team. 2 wins last year. I wouldn't be shocked if they got into double-digit wins this year. And speaking of Coach, here it is, Coach Eric Harper from Middle Ridge. Coach, welcome on to the show. Thank you for popping in. We're so happy to have you on. How are we doing today? Can you hear me?
Yep, I said sorry, I was muted. I'm doing
Oh,
well.
okay,
Thanks
you're
for
good.
having me. Yeah.
So let's talk. I was talking about this Middle Ridge team before you came on. We were talking about last year, and obviously we know that on the win-loss side of the things didn't go the way that anyone on that program wanted to, but you had a lot of kids that were coming into their first year in that role as juniors or even kids that were sophomores playing. You had a lot of experience coming back. So when you look at
Mm-hmm.
lessons you can learn from last year and the experience that these kids got last year, how can you carry that into this year and make improvements?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, obviously, I agree with you that things didn't go the way that really anybody wanted. But for me, it's kind of a test as far as who do we want to be moving forward. Do we want to kind of be hit with that adversity and start improving, improving even more, and kind of take it on as a challenge to outperform ourselves from last year and continue to get better. But yeah, I mean, this year we are bringing back some guys, and we've also had some unfortunate injuries from other sports, and then in preseason, that have hurt some of the guys that are coming back. But we're not going to make any excuses. We're going to try to get better every day. But so it's we're going to rely heavily on a couple of upperclassmen and a really strong sophomore class that were freshmen last year who played a ton of JV minutes, really the majority of JV minutes, and then we'll see what kind of if we get any contributions from any incoming freshmen too.
Coach, when we talk about the football team that just had their season in on Friday, but that was the deepest that team had gotten into the playoffs ever. You have that momentum from that year. How do you take the athletes that you do get from football and try to use that momentum from their success in that season into this year, into this
Yeah,
basketball year?
it's a great question. I mean, obviously, congrats to them. Have a lot of the same kids, playing basketball, and they need to take that same mindset of, believing in themselves and knowing that regardless of the sport, when they line up against their peers, and whether it be on the field, whether it be on the court, whatever, that they can go out and perform well, and try their hardest, and at the end of the day, come out with a win. But yeah, for sure, just trying to keep the energy up, and kind of take that, like we said last year, like that we not me mentality, and do whatever's best for the team at all times, and see what the outcome is at the end of the day.
Let's have a little meet the team segment. I'm going to let you go through your roster and shout out the players that you're going to lean on so heavily this year, and let us know the names that we have to know if we're going out to Middle Ridge this year.
Yeah, for sure. I did mention a couple of injuries. So those guys I want to mention first. Jordan Moore got injured during football, and Trey Wrigley, one of our seniors, got injured in the preseason. So I'm not sure if we're gonna be able to have either of them this year, but wanted to definitely mention them. As far as key contributors coming back, we're gonna have the Rossi brothers, Julian and John. John's coming off an injury from football as well. And Julian had a really strong season. Really happy for him to see him, kind of get back in the swing of things from having a tough year last year. And then I mentioned our sophomore class. You had guys like Chase Moore, who, came in last year for a second half of the year in basketball, and in my opinion, kind of dominated. Really changed the way we played basketball for the last month of the season. And then there's gonna have some other sophomores in that class who played heavy JV minutes last year. You're talking like Landon Bingham, Caden Schaefer, Blake Basista, Jackson Geddes, and Ethan Vistorsky. So we're gonna have a strong 6 or 7 man sophomore class. It's really we're gonna really ask for them. We already have asked them to step up and really be the leaders of the team, along with the Rossi brothers.
Coach, obviously injuries are never something you ever want to see, but seeing that they're happening preseason and you have time to, you know, make a game plan at least, and it's not like in the middle of the year where it's like, hey, guess what, we have a game tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of benefit does that give you to have a little bit of a game plan and to be able to work with the guys you do have and try to at least make a plan for what the season's going to look like?
Yeah, I mean, I think it obviously is probably better than the alternative, like you said, being mid-season. But I'd be lying if I didn't tell you I wish I had those guys for any amount of time, because both of them have been big contributors and have been guys who have been personally committed to the program, and they'll still be around. So I think there's a benefit, knowing who we have for now, and realistically trying to keep getting those guys better and keep them healthy too, because as we all know it, like you said at the beginning, like the injuries are part of it, and trying to control what we can control and keep those guys healthy while still getting better, and trying to accomplish what we want to accomplish, which is playing good defense, executing on offense, and at the end of the day, like giving ourselves a chance to win in the fourth quarter of games.
Let's talk about the schedule you guys are going to have. Obviously, we'll start with the conference, a very tough MVAC Scarlet tier. You're going to have a Louisville to contend with, Western Reserve, McDonald, Springfield, et cetera, et cetera. There's no easy night, right? So, what are you expecting out of the league? What kind of things can you expect out of the MVAC this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of like the double-edged sword with these kinds of conferences. Really, most is it's tough. So you're not having there's no hey, like a gimme game by any means. But the also side of the coin is like it is tough and it's exciting every night or every Tuesday, every Friday. So I mean, every game's going to be tough. We saw it last year. We hung with a lot of schools, even though we were, like you mentioned, down in the bottom of the league. But I'm fully expecting us to be competing night in, night out, because that's just the attitude these kids have had over the last year and a half or so, as they've kind of started to get older, is that they really, really like to compete no matter what it is. And I mean, like you said, every game's going to be tough. That's what makes it fun. That's what makes it hard. But that's what makes it so much more rewarding at the end of the night when you do come out with a victory, and makes it feel that much better at the end of the day.
You get to measure your team when you go outside of the conference and build games that are purely just to prepare yourself for postseason. Who are some teams outside of the MVAC that you're excited to test yourself against this year?
Yeah, we got a couple tough matchups, non-conference. We're gonna play Columbiana again. We opened up with them last year, so definitely looking forward to playing for them, as well as Matthews. We play non-conference. That's new this year, as well as playing Maplewood and United again towards the end of the year, which we played towards the end of last year. So those were competitive games. They play different styles of basketball. Some get up and down, some are more physical, and I think just kind of being able to play against different styles of play and different personnel, I think is all just gonna kind of create that equation of helping us peak at the right time when we're going through the conference play.
All right, Coach, I want to give you also the time to highlight your staff and the people that you have working with you. We know that you get the interviews and you get the limelight, if you will, but we know you have great people behind you. So I want to give you the time to shine a light on your staff and the people you have working for you.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's a great question. I have three coaches. My JV head coach and kind of varsity assistant, George Basista, has been a huge help. Connected throughout the community, has been a huge help for me on a daily basis. My other varsity assistant, Corey Bartek, real close friend of mine, really connects with the guys and is able to kind of be in my ear at all times. And then a former player of ours, of ours at Ridge, Zach James, just continues to really impress me. Just with his maturity, be able to connect with guys, coming up with new ideas, and just kind of being a Swiss Army knife for us. And then at the end of the day, the coach's wife is always head coach's wife is one of the most important people around. So I got to shout out my wife and for all the support she gives me throughout the season and the off season when, my busy schedule.
Coach, I want to give you props because you're the only coach so far that is unprompted given the shout out to the family at home. And that brownie points right there. Love it. Coach, I also want to ask you about having a former player on staff. What does it mean to you that someone that you have already coached wants to come back to one of your programs and wants to feed back into, the program that you've obviously worked hard to build? What does that mean to you that someone wants to come back and you've actually made like the big impact in their life enough that they want to come back and coach for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I think it's like for people like me, it's part of the reason why we do it in the first place, right? Like Zach's been around. Like really, Zach never stopped. Right, he graduated in May of whatever 2 years ago, and coached with us last year, right? So all off season and all last year, and has been around. Really, he never really left. Right, he stopped playing and he started coming to practice as a coach a couple months later. But really, like I said, it's really why people like me do this job, right? The wins are great, but it's about the relationships and the effect you can have on young dudes. And he's just one example of someone who's really just been a sponge, and then things that he's absorbed, he's then taken and ran with it, and continues to really just impress me. And I mean, sky's the limit for him in whatever he wants to do, whether it's coaching or anything else. But he's a great dude to have around, and we'd be worse off without him for sure.
Coach, one of the things that we are asking all the coaches this year, it's kind of a theme of our season previews, is about the love of basketball, right? We all have it, whether you're playing basketball, you're coaching it, or you're broadcasting it. There's a reason we keep coming to the gym, and that's because we love the sport. When did the love of the sport of basketball kind of get fueled in you? When did you kind of find yourself falling in love with the game?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, as long as I can remember, really, since I was little, always played. I grew up in the community playing, at McDonald, and just really enjoyed and really loved the game, and continued to do that throughout, my, after high school, and coaching in college and the pros, and just really, just like you said, like we all love it in some form or fashion, and what we're doing, but it's just for me, it's just the ability to be able to compete and build those relationships and that camaraderie. And if you've ever been in a locker room or been in a practice or been in a game that's exciting, and that and experience both ends of the spectrum, the lows and the highs, those are kind of what, drives me to continue to love the game, and the competition and the camaraderie, really the two words that stand out to me. They're really why, I still do this stuff and why I still love the game.
Coach, we love having you on the show. We appreciate your time, giving us a solid preview of Middle Ridge basketball. We wish you the best of luck this year. We can't wait to talk to you real soon.
All right. Thanks, man.
You got it, Coach. Have a good day.
You too. Bye.
That was Eric Harper, the head coach of the Middle Ridge Rams, looking to really, like we said in that interview and like we said before he came on, really trying to take that momentum from football season into basketball season. Obviously, the football team had their best run in the postseason that the program has ever had this year. And I know some injuries from the football season have taken toll on that basketball team, but they're still trying to take that momentum and thrust it forward into the season, which we're all hoping that they can be able to do. Because like I said, I think Middle Ridge might be a really improved team this year if they can build off that experience that they got from last year. As Loki says in Avengers, and like we always like to say on Running Point, experience is experience, right? So experience is experience. Middle Ridge is going to lean on that this year to try to make some waves in that MVAC. All right, we're going to take a break. When we get back on Running Point, we're going to play some more Coach's Corner, some season previews. We have Tony Storage from Beaver Local. We'll play him right after this break on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
21 News delivers the news as it happens, using the latest technology from where it happens. On air, online,
Wednesday afternoon weather update.
Very dangerous.
and on the 21 News social media platforms.
I'm on the road right now.
21 News, the Valley's only locally owned source for trusted news since 1953.
Craftsmanship to us is 60 years of pride and dedication.
Passed down from generation to generation.
The hardwood floors that your kids take their first steps on.
The solid wood doors you quietly close at night.
The things we create day in and day out are the products that end up turning your house into a home.
At Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods, uncompromising quality and craftsmanship built our business.
And it will keep us moving forward for generations to come.
Going the extra mile at Greenwood Chevrolet means we want to take care of the community that takes care of us too.
And we have to work together always. And that's how you stay in business for 40 years.
You know, I love being a helper because when I help somebody, it makes me feel good.
It means a lot that I can make a difference in others' lives.
So I will do everything I can and just being there for them every step of the way.
I want them to know within the first 5 minutes that they could depend on me. That's what going the extra mile means, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Before the lights come on, before the workday begins, before a long day is ended, or it's time to have fun. It all starts with the people at Joe Dickey Electric. From replacing a light fixture in your home to building a substation for your business, no job is too big or too small. The people of Joe Dickey Electric power them all. Joe Dickey Electric, over 60 years of powering the Mahoning Valley.
Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. We have another basketball season preview to play for you guys. We're going to head down to Beaver Local, and we're going to hear from Tony Sorge, the head coach of their girls basketball team. Myself and Ty Bartell conducted this interview, and I hope you enjoy it.
Bartell and Anthony Hartwig with another edition of Coach's Corner. This time we head over to our friends at Beaver Local with their girls basketball head coach, Mr. Tony Sorge. Coach, how we doing today?
Real good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem, Coach. Thank you for joining us. My first question, I always like to start in the realm of practices because that's what's going on currently in the basketball world. How are practices looking for the Beavers?
So far, it's looking good. We've been in the gym for a week and a half now. Started last Monday, but yeah, the players getting their feet wet. We're improving every single day. Trying to do a little more every day to get better. And so far, practice has been very effective.
When you look at this team and the roster you're putting together, I want you to kind of give us a meet the team segment going through your roster and let us know some of the big names that are going to be going down in Beaver Local basketball this year.
Well, we have 4 seniors this year. Peyton Roberts, Cammie Starkey, Addie Eels, and Cameron Young. We also have 2 juniors, Callie Sorge, Tori Druschel, and also 2 sophomores that will be on varsity as well, and that's Carson Boyer and Bella McLevy. And that's going to be our main varsity rotation this year. And then we have 7 players as well on JV. That's, we have 2 new juniors that came out this year. And, so they'll probably get the opportunity to dress varsity as well. And then we have 5 freshmen. So, but with our varsity main 8-player rotation is what we're looking at right now.
When you look at last season, before we start talking about this one, what were some of your takeaways from last year and from what you're returning from last year's team into this year's team? What's kind of the next step for those girls?
Well, last year was a challenging year for us. No question about that. So, we had last year we had lost 4 2-year starters from the previous year. We also had 2 projected starters tear their ACLs in their fall sport last year. So in addition to the starters we had to replace, we had 2 players we expected to start that weren't able to play last season. So coming back this year, we have 2 returning starters. We have a player who couldn't play last year because of the injury that's back. She's a senior. And then we have other players that are going to step up. So we have a lot of experience from last year. What we were able to do last year as well is get these girls some good varsity experience as well. So our 2 sophomores coming up and our other junior really were able to get good varsity experience last year. So, we were looking at that last year as a way to grow to prepare also for this year. So we expect them to be able to step in and get the job done for us.
No doubt experience is invaluable too. There's only one thing for experience, and that's experience.
Yes.
Let's talk about the schedule that you guys have put together. We'll start with the conference you play in, obviously a tough one that has you tested every year. Talk about the conference and what you expect out of it this season.
Yeah, there's no question that our schedule is challenging this year. Our conference is tough. So in the Buckeye 8, this year we have to pick up additional league games. So, we always play, it's broken down into 2 divisions. So we always play our division twice. But now this year, this year we have to add the teams in the other division and play them once this year. So we're adding Union Local this year, Bel Air, St. Clairsville, Martins Ferry is in our division this year. So we're picking them up twice. We haven't played them in a couple years. So we have, we have a challenging Buckeye 8 schedule. So additional games. Now the non-conference games, we had to drop off our schedule. Those were challenging as well. So we're really replacing some good teams with the ones we had to drop off. But we expect it to be be a battle in the Buckeye 8 this year. So there's definitely, Indian Creek's always good. Union Local has a good program. Martins Ferry's a tough team. I think every team in there is going to be challenging. Harrison's always a battle as well. So it's definitely going to be a battle in the Buckeye 8 this year.
I think one thing a lot of coaches would agree on, you want to see a little bit of just about everything in your 22 game regular season schedule. You want to experience about everything. When you field the competition that's ahead of the slate for you guys, what do you see that you guys are going to be going up against? What are some different looks that these teams are going to provide?
Well, I think, I know what we faced last year and what, it was a down year for us, challenging. I expect to see some of the same things this year. So there's going to be a lot of pressing that we're going to face. I think we'll handle a lot better this year and be able to get some of that pressure off of us with the improvements we've made. But I think we're going to see some pressing. We're going to face some different defenses. Some of these teams play some good zone defenses, but I think we'll face a lot of very good man defense. So we got to be ready for that. It's like I said, we know we play a lot of these teams every year, so we really know what to expect. We just got to be up for the challenge.
We know that leadership is so important, Coach. What are some of the who are some of the players that you're going to be leaning on this year to be those emotional, vocal, and even lead by example type leaders?
I definitely expect the seniors to step up and lead. All 4 seniors, they've been with me for 4 years now. They really know our system, and they're hungry for some wins. So we've had, again, our season last year was challenging. So they don't want to see that again this year. So they're hungry for some wins, and they're already stepping up and helping lead this team. And, they're going to hold each other accountable, but they're also going to support even our younger players and help bring them along and help develop them throughout the season. So I'm putting a lot on the senior players to really step up and lead us this year.
Coach, we always like to talk about the staff you put together as well, because I know you can't do it alone. You need a little bit of help along the season. What's the Beaver staff look like this year?
Yes, absolutely. I have Coach Brad Starkey back. He's been with me 3 years. He's my JV coach. And I've added Coach Misty Mays is an assistant coach this year. They do a great job, and they really step up and have not just during the season, but in the off season as well. And I lean a lot on Coach Starkey, and it's him and I have coached now for 3 years together. So he knows the system. We share the same philosophies, so we work very well together. And then also I have a very good junior high staff as well, and I've added a couple of additional coaches in junior high. So Coach Wright, Coach Yost, Coach Rayford, and Coach Gatis. They're they do a great job for us as well at the junior high level, and that's very important for us to prepare those players to come into the high school.
I love that you brought up your junior high coaches, because building a program is so important down there. What can you say about the developmental abilities of the junior high teams and how ready these players are when they get to you as freshmen?
Well, we've really focused on building this program from the ground up. So we focus a lot on the youth, in addition to junior high and high school. So the coaches at the junior high level and the youth level are extremely important to this program. And we continue to try to, some of the less experienced coaches, we continue to try to develop. And then, we've just been lucky to find good coaches for both the junior high and youth. And it's extremely important to use the same system, build upon that each year, and prepare these girls to come into high school. And we feel we have, especially like our 8th grade team this year, they were very successful last year in 7th grade. They were, I believe, 16-2, won their conference championship. It's a very talented group. We expect our 7th grade to have a pretty good year as well. We see some talent there. We need to continue to develop that, but things are definitely looking up. They're continuing to teach them more and develop them for when they come into high school. And again, at the youth is even more important. I feel we have some very good coaches at the youth level that are really teaching these kids the game of basketball and help develop them and keeping them interested. And our youth program continues to grow year after year. I mean, it's really taken off. We have this year over 70 kids in our youth program. That's very exciting for us.
Can't build a strong house without a foundation, right, Coach?
Right.
And you talk about this team, and you talk about your experience with basketball, Coach. It goes right into the theme of my question this year for all head coaches, and it goes back to the love of the game of basketball. It's what keeps us coming back each and every year, no matter what our role is in the sport. It's always that love of the game that keeps us coming back. Where'd that love of the game of basketball start for you? Do you have an earliest memory, a pinpoint moment, a time frame where you fell in love with the sport?
Well, I've always loved basketball since I was a kid, and it's just, as a kid, I played different sports, tried different sports, but at the end of the day, basketball was the sport that I was really passionate about, and that's the one I stuck with, and I remember, back in the day, I'd sit there and watch, the Lakers and the Celtics with my dad, and, just always had a love for the game growing up, and it's never changed. So, I'd always wanted to get into coaching, and it's just, I love teaching the game of basketball to these kids. I love seeing them continue to grow and develop, and some of these kids also who share a passion for the game. At the end of the day, we're here to teach these kids. It's not about us, it's about the kids. So at the end of the day, it's just great to be involved with the kids, help them grow, not just as players, but as people as well. But they share the passion for the game as well. It just makes it that much more interesting, that much more fun.
Coach, I want to thank you for taking the time to join us today and giving us a solid preview of Beaver local girls basketball. We can't wait to see what you put on the floor and talk to you again real soon.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Ty Bartell, Anthony Hartwig with another edition of Coach's Corner. This time we head over to our friends in Kinsman, Ohio with the Badger Braves. Boys basketball head coach Josh Upshire joins us today. Coach, how are we doing?
I'm great. How are you guys today?
We're doing pretty well ourselves. I'd say you're just one of many coaches we get to talk to, but we've been excited to talk to you in particular because this is going to be a very exciting team, it seems like, this year. You got some practices now under your belt. What are the practices looking like with the guys you got?
Practices have been a lot better than anticipated. We had a couple kids come out that we thought were going to help our team this year. Unfortunately, decided not to play. But the practices have been energetic. Guys are getting after it. We're not going to be very deep this year, but the guys that are here are getting after it and getting better every day.
When you deal with a sudden change like that, what was it like to just kind of adjust? And the kids that obviously stayed with you guys and wanted to be there, wanted to put in the effort, and to see them step up like I know you have.
Yeah, it's been great. We have, we have great leadership at the top, starting with obviously Duncan. He does a great job of getting kids to communicate and be better every day. It's been a blessing to have a kid like that in our program that's an extension of our coaching staff, and he understands the end goal of what we're all trying to accomplish. So, to have someone like that is able to push kids and extend our thinking and talk to kids and get them to do what we want to do has been very good. We're going to have 2 freshmen get a lot of minutes for us. So, for him to be able to talk to them and get them on the same page has been a blessing so far.
Let's extend that a little further into like a general meet the team segment. I mean, rosters might not be finalized, but I'm sure you know some of the big impact players there's going to be on this team this year.
Yeah, obviously, start with Duncan Moy, just committed to Cal, PA. We'll have him as our leader, 6'5". Excuse me. Then we'll have the two sophomores. We'll have Preston Drositano and Lewis Flowers, who I think are going to have really big seasons. They were freshmen for us last year. They had really good seasons. We expect big things from them this year. We have two other seniors, Bryce Gross and Jared Schmidt, who Bryce got a lot of varsity minutes for us last year. Great defender, great rebounder for us. Jared was more of a JV kid last year, but he's a bigger body for us, and he'll defend and rebound for us. And then, as I said, we have the two freshmen coming in that we expect big things. The first one being Jack Harnett. He's about 6 foot, 205. I mean, he looks like a linebacker if you see him. Very big kid. And then Alton Wincheck, who we were hoping to bring along slowly, get some JV time, but with the kids who decide not to play, he's going to be pressed into action a little bit. And he had a great summer for us and a great fall for us. He's actually been a surprise for us that he doesn't know what he doesn't know yet. So it's been, like I said, those 7 guys have been very good for us.
It's a great thing about freshmen. They don't know what they don't know. Coach, you talked about the summer a little bit. That's all about setting foundations for the season and getting everyone where they want to be. But these last 2 weeks before the season starts, it's all about fine-tuning, making the adjustments, and just trying to get everyone as prepared as possible for game 1. What's on your checklist of things you want to see before the first game of the season?
Trying to find an identity. Before, we were hoping to be a pressing, up-tempo team. With only 7 guys, I'm not sure we can do that at this point in the season. It may have to come later in the season, so we still have a little bit of energy towards the end of the season. Right now, it's just, like I said, find that identity, what we do well. Obviously, it's a lot easier having a 6'5" athlete out there. You can do a few more things. But in order to be successful, you have to have everybody on the same page. So just getting everybody to go along with what we're doing and buy into what we're doing. And I feel like we've done that so far.
Coach, I mean, before we even talk about postseason, it all starts with the conference play. And I mean, this was a fun conference last year. A lot of good teams, a lot of winning teams in this conference. Do you expect much of the same? Where do you guys feel like you fit in with this conference?
We're back to 2 sides now. We're adding Grand Valley back to the league again next year. So we split up into 2 sides last year. I feel like we have the tougher side. I mean, every night we have to come to play. I mean, we have the likes of PV, who won the league last year, only had 1 league loss. Fairport Harbor is going to be really good. They bring back some guys that are super athletic and big. You'll have Maplewood, who beat us at home last year on our senior night. So you have those teams, and you have Matthews, who, Matthews has always been a thorn in our side. So, we had some success last year against them, but I expect Coach Lee and Coach Weimer to have those guys ready for us this coming season. So, we start right off the rip. We start, Camel's non-conference game, but we go Matthews, Maplewood, Fairport, PV all in a row. So it'll be a test early for us.
That's definitely a test. Let's talk about that non-conference. You already said Camel. Who are some other teams that pop up outside of conference that you're excited to go up against?
Yeah, I made it a little bit tougher for us this year, knowing that, I interviewed with the Tribune the other day, and you always get the comments about Duncan, is he really that good? The league's not really that good. You get those comments. So I tried to beef up the non-conference schedule a little bit. We stay with our regulars with Camel and Heartland. We have those guys every year. I love playing Coach Canarino and Coach Scott, both well-coached teams. We actually added McDonald to our schedule. For those of you who were there last year, we played champion in our autism acceptance night, and we're going to do that against McDonald this year. I'm pretty excited to have that game against a very good McDonald team, well coached. Then we have another good coach team. We have Gerard right after Christmas, and then a game that everybody in the area I think is looking forward to. We have JFK right after the New Year on the 3rd. So we play down there. Pretty excited for that one. Then we have Aquinas back on the schedule again this year. The end of our schedule is another thing I said that's either going to make us or break us. I mean, we end with at Aquinas. We play home against whoever is equal to us on the other side of our league. Then we were at Poland and at Jefferson end the season. So we had some tough opponents, and we hope to get us ready for the tournament.
You talk about that type of toughness too, and I mean, I think it's a perfect response that you and your team are having to those questions from some critics. When you talk about Duncan Moy, though, as a player, I think he deserves a little bit extra special attention because he's not a player that just comes on and pops off of trees. These are special players that not every team gets. What's it like coaching a player like that? Is it do you have to be more hands-on, or is it more just hands-off and let them just be them?
No, you let a kid like Duncan do what he does. You know, he's played high-level AAU. He's faced some tough competition over the summer. You let him do what he does. And again, in the interview I had the other day, I said I've coached a lot of good players. I was at Ursuline, I was at Howland, I was at Liberty. I've been here. I've coached a lot of good basketball players. I haven't seen a kid with the talent level of Duncan since Peyton Aldridge, Mark Hughes. I mean, I'd put him right up there with those guys as far as talent level goes. I mean, he does some things in practice, and I just look at my coaches like, did he really just do that? You know, I feel like he invents things just to make it tough on himself, you know. But it's great to coach a kid like that. He's so humble. That's what people don't understand. You know, you get a kid like that who can be a jerk or things like that, but he's so humble. I mean, it's incredible to have him as a role model. And I said this yesterday, not only for my kid, but for all the youth basketball players in our program. To have somebody like that to look up to is pretty special.
Coach, I want to give you the time to also talk about your staff. We know that you don't do it by yourself and that you have a lot of good people working to make sure this program's where you want it to be. So highlight your staff and tell us who you have working with you.
Yeah, I'd like to start with my youth program. I mean, that's where it always begins. My youth coaches have done a phenomenal job the last few years. Our youth numbers are as big as they've been since I've been here. I mean, my son's in 5th grade, and he has more 5th graders on his team than I do in my entire high school. So, I mean, we're building it from the bottom up and hopefully continue to build it. But, you know, we have guys like Kyle Harnett, Steve Sadler, Corey Arnold in our youth program. For our middle school program, my uncle, John, who does, I mean, there's not a lot that I can't ask, and he's right there for me. So, we have him. We have Ray Cox, who's his second year with us. And then we go up to my high school staff. You know, I have John Moy, who does a phenomenal job with our skills and our offense. We have Dusty Carr, my JV coach, who does a lot of the little things for me, takes a lot off my plate. And then we have an addition this year. My dad's going to join on staff this year that I'm looking forward to, and it'll be cool to have my dad sitting on the bench with me this year.
Coach, my final question for you today, it goes to the theme of the questions I'm asking all the head coaches this year. It goes back to the love of the game. It's what brings us all together, no matter what our role is in the game. It's the love of it that started, and it's what keeps us coming back. Where'd the love of the sport of basketball start for you? Do you have a pinpoint moment, an earliest memory?
Yeah, for me, I was a kid who grew up actually in Brookfield. I didn't even grow up in Badger. I was a football kid. I remember my first day coming to Badger and asking how the football team was, and everybody's looking at me like, we don't have football here. A little bit of a shock for me. So went to my first basketball practice in 4th grade, and from there, I just hung around, who ended up being my head coach, Bill Bogan, phenomenal mentor for me. Just allow me to be around from the early stages, 5th grade, 6th grade, I enjoyed playing basketball, and that was my passion. I had not a lot of people know, but I had some scholarship offers to play college soccer, but I was pretty adamant that I wanted to play college basketball. So passed up some opportunities to play basketball, and didn't work out, but I'm in the path I am now, and thankful for it. And so I think early on in 4th or 5th grade, I picked it up there and have ran with it ever since.
Coach, we want to thank you so much for taking the time to join us today and giving us a very solid preview of Badger basketball. We can't wait to see what the season holds for you guys. We know it's going to be great things because that's just the way you are, So we appreciate it. We can't wait to see what you got, and we'll talk to you in real soon.
Thanks, guys. I can't wait to hear the Dunkin' Donuts talk again. That was pretty cool last year. I mean, it's pretty special to have a kid like that. So
Badger runs on Dunkin', right?
That is right. Yep.
Coach, we love talking to you. We can't wait to talk again soon.
Thanks, guys.
Badger does indeed run on Dunkin'. We're so excited to see Badger this year in basketball. And we thank Josh Upshire, obviously, for his time giving it to us and giving us a solid preview of what Badger basketball is going to look like this season. That's going to do it for today's show. I want to take the time to thank not just Josh Upshire for his time, but Tony Sorge as well. And then, of course, Eric Harper, who came on the show live to talk about Mineral Ridge basketball. We thank all of our coaches for the time they give us to give these season previews. Keep in tune to our social media accounts and our website, because we will continue to pop coaches' corners and season previews up throughout the week. We have a bunch of them still to be posted, so make sure to check in on that. And we will be back tomorrow from 1 to 2 on Running Point. As always,